Hello, everybody, and welcome to the May 28th, 2018 edition of the Ephrom Josine Show. I am your host, Ephrom Josine. Anyway, tonight I'll basically be catching up on the news I was going to cover last week, but didn't get around to because my camera kept dying. Luckily, I have a laptop camera, and this one will probably die on me at some point, but if it is, it's not going to happen just yet. I promise. First off, the peace summit with North Korea that President Donald Trump was going to do, that was supposed to unify Korea and end the Korean War, that ended like 60 years ago, was canceled. Now, there are two ways I can analyze this. One is I can take a serious look at it and actually talk about the effects it's going to have on peace and all the world and possibly wars and all of that, or I could just say I told you so. So I'm going to do the one that I prefer. I told you so. Okay, fine, we'll analyze it a little bit. The truth is, there is never going to be a unified Korean state. Okay? It was near impossible to get another unified United States after the Civil War, and these countries have been apart for 50 plus years. I imagine if they were to do it, it'd be even harder than Reconstruction was here. And here's the question I always bring up to people who want a unified Korean state. Would both Korean leaders have power? Because as of right now, both North Korean and South Korean leaders have power that they legally got. Would Un still have power in some way in a unified Korea? And for that matter, would his monarchy still continue under a unified Korea? Would he be like England, where they just had to sort of give up some of their rights? And it'd be a constitutional monarchy, and there'd be a parliament. Same thing with, I think, Spain still has a king. I mean, there are just too many unanswered questions. The same thing with going to war with North Korea. I just don't see a reality where we can easily do this. I'm sorry. I know I'm cynical here, but it's just clear to me this would be a very complicated issue. It would require a whole bunch of negotiation, and neither side is even going to come close to happy. It would probably be just as hard, if not harder, as creating a unified Israel and Palestine. It more than likely an international government agency is going to have to step in order for it to work. But again, I don't know. I don't see this working, is what I'm getting at. Also, it has been confirmed that the FBI was spying on Donald Trump, or specifically the Obama administration was spying on Donald Trump during the campaign. And you know what my response to that is? Duh. Barack Obama was spying on everyone. His NSA was spying on every single human being under the United States Patriot Act, which, may I remind you, was passed under a Republican Congress, a Republican Senate, a Republican House, and signed into law by a Republican president. So it's all their fault in the first place. They never tell you that. They never tell you that. It's just sort of, oh, why the Obama administration spied on Donald Trump? Well, why were they allowed to? Because powers the Republicans gave up. Oh, you forgot to mention that, didn't you? It's the same thing these people do. They're the party against context. That's what I think the Republicans are at this point. They are the anti-context party. It's the same thing with the whole James Comey scenario. The only reason Donald Trump won is because James Comey reopened the Hillary Clinton email case 10 days before the election. Okay? So with that in mind, why is it they hate James Comey now? He's some pro-Hillary Trump. He's the only reason Hillary Clinton lost. You don't know, do you? Also, it should be pointed out that I am recording this, and this will be uploaded on May 28th, 2018. However, if I were to have just uploaded this one day earlier, that being May 27th, it would have been the 95th birthday of former Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger. who also has met with our current president, Donald Trump, on several occasions. But tell me more about how this president is against the deep state when he meets with advisors from the Nixon administration. Although, was Nixon just not a crook? May I just say, though, it's actually kind of funny that his birthday is exactly one day before Memorial Day, considering how he once called military men dumb, stupid animals. Um, Now, of course, there are a lot of questions about Henry Kissinger, such as, how is he that old? He may even be older than Memorial Day. And maybe they base it off of him. Um, and where did he come from? In which the answer is the same planet all the reptilians are from. Now, I could go into detail about Henry Kissinger for several hours, talk about what a piece of human garbage he is, what an awful Secretary of State he was, how he essentially is guilty of leaking things to government, from the government, came up with the idea that caused the Watergate scandal, and much, much more. But Christopher Hitchens did that perfectly in his book, The Trial of Henry Kissinger. So I'm just going to recommend you read that instead. Instead, I'm just going to read you some quotes from the man for the rest of this episode, in order to give you an idea what kind of great man he was. One of his most famous quotes, and quite possibly his most inspiring, is, "Accept everything about yourself. I mean everything. You are you, and that is the beginning and the end. No apologies, no regrets." Henry Kissinger, the first motivational speaker. Of course, what he did, well, again, just read this book. You'll find he was kind of genocidal, for instance. Definitely a murderer on several occasions. If Nixon wasn't a coward, he probably should have been fired about a year in. Here's another one. "The illegal we do immediately. The unconstitutional takes a little longer." I figured I should point out, by the way, Henry Kissinger was best friends with George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. They met with each other weekly in order to discuss the Iraq War, and George W. Bush even tried to make Henry Kissinger the head of the 9/11 Task Commission. Not making that one up. Another one from our good friend Henry: "Depopulation should be the highest priority of foreign policy towards the third world." Don't really feel like I need to go into detail with that one, why that can be considered disgusting and evil. More from Henry Kissinger: "It's not a matter of what is true that counts, but a matter of what is perceived to be true." Yeah, Henry also had some views that were probably shared by, what's the right kind of person? A psychopath. Yeah, a psychopath. Some more. "Control oil and you control nations." I'll give him this. That one's not wrong. And now his most famous quote. I've read it on the show before. I figured we should read it out one more time. I even alluded to it earlier. "Military men are dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns for foreign policy." Happy Memorial Day, by the way. To learn more about Henry Kissinger, of course, I can tell you, go by that Hitchens book I was telling you about. I'll just end it with a quote by Hitchens about Kissinger. "Henry Kissinger should have the door shut in his face by every decent person and should be shamed, ostracized, and excluded." Well, that's it. I'm Ephrom, and good night.